Bhajahure manam Sri Nanda Nandanaya Bhaya Charanara Bindare Bhajahure manam Sri Nanda Nandanaya Bhaya Charanara Bindare.
Jai Sparikar Shri Shri Guru Garanga Shri Shri Gandharvika Girit Hari Ju Ki Jai Jai Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Jai Srila Bhakti Rakak Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Jai Srila Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai Jai Sri Rupanuga Guru Varga Ki Jai Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Bol. Okay, so we'll continue our reading of Bhagavad Gita as it is by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And let's see, we're reading the introduction. I think actually we may have ended at the bottom of page 7, so we're at the top of page 8.
Okay.
Being an associate of Lord Krishna, Arjuna was above all ignorance. But Arjuna was put into ignorance on the battlefield of Kurukshetra just to question Lord Krishna about the problems of life so that the Lord could explain them for the benefit of future generations of human beings and chalk out the plan of life. Then man could act accordingly and perfect the mission of human life. The subject of the Bhagavad Gita entails the comprehension of 5 basic truths. First of all, the science of God is explained, and then the constitutional position of the living entities, jivas. There is Ishvara, which means the controller, and there are jivas, the living entities, which are controlled. If a living entity says that he is not controlled, but that he is free, then he is insane. So, we are living in the world of the insane, actually. So another confirmation, one of my tenets that I present is that everyone is crazy in this material world. And every once in a while I feel comforted when I see that confirmed by an authority. So Prabhupada is confirming that here. If a living entity says that he is not controlled, but that he is free, then he is insane.
We're all here because we're not all there.
The living being is controlled in every respect, at least in his conditioned life. So, the liberated souls, by definition, are not controlled. They are free. But the conditioned soul is controlled. He's under the control of the illusory energy, Mahamaya, the deluding potency. But they are thinking they are free because they are thinking they can decide, today I'll get up and go to work, or I'll call in sick. So they have some limited freedom like that. But actually, even that is almost completely under the jurisdiction of the material nature, and very little real freedom for the entities. They think they're free because the mind allows them to think they're so. So the mind performs the function of offering items to accept and reject, and because they accept some and reject others, then they think they are free to do so, but actually they're being forced to accept one and reject another. They're not really free to accept and reject. So if they think they are, then they are insane. They're deluded. The living being is controlled in every respect, at least in his conditioned life. So in the Bhagavad Gita, the subject matter deals with the Ishvara, the supreme controller, who is Krishna, and the jivas, the controlled living entities. And who is doing the controlling? That's next. Prakriti, material nature, and time, the duration of existence of the whole universe, are the manifestation of material nature. Oh, you're free? Can you choose not to die? No. Then how are you free? Can you choose not to breathe? No. You're controlled. You must breathe. You can't stop it. Right? So, I could name many other things, but these are symptoms that we're not free. We're not free from death, and we can't control even our own bodies very extensively, or only to very small degrees. If you want to stop breathing, you cannot stop. Even if you try to stop. If you were to be successful in stopping it, then after a few minutes you would pass out, and then you would start breathing again. So, Prakriti, material nature, and time, the duration of existence of the whole universe, or the manifestation of material nature. And karma, activity, are also discussed. So Prakriti, material nature, time, and karma. These are what are going to be discussed in relation to the material nature. The cosmic manifestation is full of different activities. All living entities are engaged in different activities. From Bhagavad Gita, we must learn what God is, what the living entities are, what Prakriti is, what God is, the living entities, Prakriti, what the cosmic manifestation is, how it is controlled by time. Yeah, there's another limitation. Are you free to extend the hour to 2 hours? No, it's still an hour is an hour. You can't expand it. So, what the cosmic manifestation is, how it is controlled by time, and what the activities of the living entities are. Out of these 5 basic subject matters in Bhagavad Gita, it is established that the Supreme Godhead, or Krishna, or Brahman, or the Supreme Controller, or Paramatma, you may use whatever name you like, is the greatest of all. So each of these 3 are referred to by the supporters of those entities as God. Each of these 3, Krishna, Brahman, or the Supreme Controller, or Paramatma. These 3 are termed as God. Krishna said, Prabhupada writes, you may use whatever name you like. So each of these 3 is the greatest of all. The living beings are in quality like the Supreme Controller. For instance, the Lord has control over the universal affairs of material nature, as will be explained in the later chapters of Bhagavad Gita. Material nature is not independent. Another mistake of scientists, they they can't see the controller of material nature, so they assume that material nature is an integer, is unto itself, has no controller. But material nature is not an integer. Krishna is the only integer, and he is the controller of everything. Only he is unto himself. Material nature is not independent. She is acting under the directions of the Supreme Lord. So, Ishvara means Purusha, and Prakriti means, anyway, material nature is Prakriti. Purusha means the controller, and Prakriti is the controlled. And the controlled is known as referred to as feminine, she. So the Lord is he. Now, people ask, why do you refer to God as he? Because that's what he is. He is Purusha. He is the supreme controller. And Prakriti, everything else is female, feminine, controlled. The enjoyer and the enjoyed. This is the psychology of it. So she, Prakriti, is acting under the directions of the Supreme Lord. He, the Supreme Lord. And why be envious? Why be disturbed? There is a he and there is a she. What is it? People make so much of these things. Men are also Prakriti. Men are also she, because they're also controlled by the Supreme Lord. Men in this world, what goes by man in this world, means also Prakriti, she. Because every man is under the control of the Supreme Lord, just as every so-called woman is. As Lord Krishna says, Maya Dyakshena Prakriti Suyate Sa Characharam. This material nature is working under my direction. When we see wonderful things happening in the cosmic nature, we should know that behind this cosmic manifestation there is a controller. The laws of nature come from where? There's nature and there are the laws of nature, the laws that govern nature. They're not the same thing. Nature doesn't create her own laws. Nature operates under the law created by God. Nothing could be manifested without being controlled. It is childish not to consider the controller. For instance, a child may think that an automobile is quite wonderful to be able to run without a horse or other animal pulling it. But a sane man knows the nature of the automobile's engineering arrangement. He always knows that behind the machinery there is a man, a driver. So this applies to all the creations, all of the objects, machinery created by man. They all have a driver, and the driver is man. So artificial intelligence means the artificial designation, artificial intelligence. Where does the intelligence come from? Some man programmed the intelligence into the computer, right? If the computer had any intelligence, it doesn't. It only has calculating ability, right? And it can only calculate what a man tells it to calculate. Whatever you can make, whatever a computer may theoretically do in the future, it only does because intelligence has programmed it to do that. A man with intelligence has programmed a machine to behave as if it has intelligence, which it does not. Right?
Yeah.
A roller coaster that goes in a particular direction. If you don't see the rail, then you might think, wow, it's wonderful how it's going up into the sky, and then it's going along some course. but it's all programmed by an intelligent person. The person made the track, made the coaster, made the mechanism that drives the coaster, runs it up to the top position, then releases it to roll down and through its course, etc. That's all programmed by someone. It didn't just appear, it didn't fall out of the sky. So behind the machinery there is a man, a driver, whether it's a car, whether it's a computer, a roller coaster, whatever it may be. Behind that thing, the driver, there is a man there. Similarly, the Supreme Lord is the driver under whose direction everything is working. There's a driver for everything, and that's the Supreme Lord. Now the jivas, or the living entities, have been accepted by the Lord, as we will note in the later chapters, as his parts and parcels. A particle of gold is also gold. A drop of water from the ocean is also salty. And similarly, we, the living entities, being part and parcel of the Supreme Controller, Ishvara, or Bhagavan, Lord Sri Krishna, have all the qualities of the Supreme Lord in minute quantity, because we are minute Ishvaras, subordinate Ishvaras. So we have these qualities because the one who has all these, we are produced by the one who has all these qualities. So another a source of controversy for still it's going amazingly still it's going on, the origin of the jiva, and for some inexplicable reason, some of my godbrothers of disciples of Srila Prabhupada have been arguing for 30 years or more, 40 years, that back to Godhead, the term back to Godhead means that we were in Goloka with Krishna, in Leela with Krishna, but some idea came in our mind that Krishna is enjoying, and I want to enjoy like that. So when that idea comes that we want to be the enjoyer, then we are cast out of Goloka into the Prakriti, into this material nature. But that's not the meaning of back to Godhead. Why Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur chose this term, Godhead? Because that is the source of, Godhead is the source of everything. Back to home, back to Godhead. We came from Godhead. But Godhead means not just Goloka Vrindavan, but Godhead means who is the source of all Vaikuntha planets. Right? Not only Goloka, but Ayodhya, Dwarka, Mathura, many unlimited numbers of Vaikuntha planets. So he is also the source of Narayan, Vishnu, Hari, etc., Rishikesh, many expansions, plenary expansions. He is the source of them, full expansions of him. So, so his Shakti, he has different energies, but he is the source of those different energies. So what are the three primary energies? So we're reading about Prakriti, that's one. Prakriti, material, Maya, and Maya Shakti. So Prakriti is also Maya Shakti. And the Jiva, what is Jiva Shakti? Jiva means Tatastha Shakti, the energy called Tatastha Shakti. And then the Maya Shakti, Tatastha Shakti, what is superior to all of those? Chit Shakti. So Krishna is the source of these three primary potencies, energies. And when the jiva is produced, what does it mean that the jiva is produced? The jiva is always existing. within the Godhead, within Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Produce means coming out. At some point, Krishna wants to see the jiva manifest, see the jivas manifest. But they are coming out from that energy. They're coming out from him, Godhead, as Tatastha Shakti. So Tatastha Shakti, the jivas as Tatastha Shakti, then they may be attracted either to the Prakriti, the Maya potency, or the Chit Shakti, join the group of servitors in the Vaikuntha Lokas, the Vaikuntha planets. When they choose Maya Shakti to try to, and the psychology of that is, oh, there is something lower than me, that Prakriti. Oh, there is something which is of substandard nature, substance which is a very lower quality. I am higher. I am above that. I am higher quality than that. So that means I can manipulate it. What is lower than me, I can manipulate. And through manipulation, enjoy with it. Right? That's the idea. So someone will think, oh, there is something lower than me, I can exploit it, I can enjoy it. It can't resist, I'm superior to it. Right?
Yeah.
So he, with that mentality, then he comes to enjoy the material world, material consciousness. And when he becomes exhausted with his attempts and exasperated, then he may come to think, what is this? I thought I would control this, but actually I am suffering under its control. Right? I came as the enjoyer, but in actuality, I'm the one being exploited. I'm the one being enjoyed. I'm being manhandled by this Prakriti. So I don't want to die, but I'm forced. I don't want to get illness, but I'm forced. I don't want to be injured, but I'm forced. I don't want to suffer from the heat and the cold. I'm forced to. I have to. I can't avoid it. But what about air conditioning? What about heating? Yes. Then I'm forced to work hard to, get something to supply my heating, supply my cooling. But that means I'm suffering because of the hot and the cold. Because if I didn't, without those, I wouldn't have to work to make machines or buy machines that alleviate the suffering, right? So, at any rate, so once in realizing his unfortunate position, then he may look for some way out, may look for mercy, may try to find the freedom, the liberation from that. And then if he's fortunate, he gets contact with the devotee, and the devotee tells him, oh yes, you are a better thing, you are a jiva, and what is that? Jiva Srupoi. Your real form is Nityara Krishna Das, eternal servant of Krishna. But that service is better than the exploiting position you have here. Service to Krishna is higher, more glorious, more relishable, more joyous than what little joy you're trying to collect through exploiting others in this world. So come to that position. Okay, how do I come to that position? Then that's what this Bhagavad Gita is about. So coming to that position, then Krishna assures the jiva, when you attain that position, when you come back to me, then you will never again come to this material world. So once returning back to home, back to Godhead, then no longer will you have to, will you come again to this material world. But we came to this material world not from Goloka, but from Tatastha Shakti, from the Tatastha, from the marginal plane, not the Dham, the Goloka Dham, the spiritual planet of Goloka, Vrindavan, or any of the other spiritual planets. And why? It's not possible, because there is no such thing as, there is no vision of illusion. It's non-existent. It's nowhere to be found. So no one in Goloka can cast their eye to Prakriti, because there's no Prakriti to see. So the idea never, that story, like Adam and Eve, that Adam, Eve enticed Adam with the fruit of knowledge, and Adam accepted the enticement. He was tempted, and he was fell victim to that temptation. Where is that temptation going to come from in Goloka? There's no possibility. It's not that everyone is tempting. Come and serve Krishna. You can do more. Krishna wants you. Krishna is calling you. Someone is calling you. Some devotee is calling you. And you must answer that call. Yes, I want to answer. I'm enjoying this service. This life is enjoyable for me. Then where will the idea come from? Anything else? It's not only enjoyable, it's fully enjoyable. It's unlimitedly, it's full and it's unlimited, and it's unceasing. In that environment, there is no idea of anything else. It doesn't occur. So this was a concoction, and never substantiated by scripture, but just an idea. Some devotee, someone practitioner, devotee, someone practicing devotion, many persons practicing, didn't read Bhagavad Gita so closely, and so they speculated, what could cause our entrance into this material world? Well, the Christians have this idea, Adam was tempted by Eve. It must be something like that, except we don't talk about the Garden of Eden, we talk about Goloka. So in Goloka, some jiva was tempted. You could be like Krishna. No one wants to be like Krishna. Everyone wants to serve Krishna. That's their happiness, not to be like Krishna. No happiness in that position. So that's a little bit of that psychology, and the argument is still going. Amazingly, the argument is still going on, and we accept. If there was any doubt, so Srila Prabhupada said some things which could be interpreted as meaning, as giving some support for that theory, that wrong theory. But he said just as many things, or as important things, more important things, that take away all support of that idea. Then also, one time I read, and I wish I never read it a long time ago, and never again found the reference, but I know it was in one of Jiva Goswami's Satsandarbhas, and Jiva Goswami wrote there that the jiva could fall from Goloka. He said that that situation cannot be, because if the jiva is fallible in that way, if the servants of Krishna had that fallibility, that danger that they could be swept away by Maya, by illusion, something from their from that spiritual world of Goloka, he said, then they could not serve Krishna in full confidence and full surrender, because there would be some doubt. Oh, I'm serving today. Will tomorrow I lose this position? So it cannot exist. Jiva Goswami is explaining that it cannot exist for that reason also. To attain that, to be in that position, there is no doubt. There is no question. There is no idea that of fallibility in that sense. So, because it would it would give pain to the servitors, wondering, oh, could I leave the service of my Lord? Like that. So once going there, one never returns. And once going there can also means from Tatastha Shakti, 99.9% of the jivas are looking towards the Vaikuntha lokas, and they're going there. They never return to that Tatastha plane. They certainly never go to the other side, to this Prakriti plane, material world. Anyway, so we are trying to control nature, as presently we are trying to control space or planets. And this tendency to control is there because it is in Krishna. But although we have a tendency to lord it over material nature, we should know that we are not the supreme controller. This is explained in Bhagavad Gita. What is material nature? This is also explained in Gita as inferior prakriti, inferior nature. The living entity is explained as the superior prakriti. Prakriti is always under control, whether inferior or superior. So, here, what I was saying earlier, now we're going to read it. Prakriti is female, and she is controlled by the Lord, just as the activities of a wife are controlled by the husband. Prakriti is always predominated by the Lord, who is the predominator. The living entities and material nature are both predominated, controlled by the Supreme Lord. The living entities, superior Prakriti, and material nature, inferior Prakriti, but both are Prakriti. According to the Gita, the living entities, although parts and parcels of the Supreme Lord, are to be considered Prakriti. This is clearly mentioned in the 7th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Parayang itas tvanyang prakriting vidhi me parang jiva bhutam. This material nature is my inferior Prakriti, but beyond this is another Prakriti, jiva bhutam, the living entity. Material nature itself is constituted by three qualities: the mode of goodness, passion, and the mode of ignorance. Above these modes there is eternal time, and by a combination of these modes of nature, and under the control and purview of eternal time, there are activities which are called karma. These activities are being carried out from time immemorial, and we are suffering or enjoying the fruits of our activities. For instance, suppose I am a businessman and have worked very hard with intelligence and have amassed a great bank balance. Then I am an enjoyer. But then say I have lost all my money in business. Then I am a sufferer. So the same thing which brought the enjoyment and now the cause of the suffering. Same in death. Someone works, very hard for so many things. A man and wife want to have a good marriage. If they have a successful marriage, then their suffering is increased at the time of death when they are forced to separate from each other. So that they're trying to create happiness in their married life, and if they're successful, that happiness is the cause of pain when they are then separated at the time of death. Right? And they're mourning all that they enjoyed. They're now mourning. Now the cause of their mourning. So, suppose I'm a businessman and have worked very hard with intelligence and have amassed a great bank balance. Then I'm an enjoyer. But then say, I have lost all my money in business. Then I am a sufferer. Similarly, in every field of life, we enjoy the results of our work, or we suffer the results. So there's work, and then we either suffer the results of the work or enjoy the results of the work. But all is coming out of work, suffering and enjoying, both coming out of work. This is called karma. All right, we'll stop there. Any questions?
No.
Jai Sparikar Shri Shri Guru Garanga Shri Shri Gandharvika Giri Hariju Ki Jai.
Jai.
Jai Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Jai.
Jai Srila Bhakti Rakak Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai.
Jai.
Jai Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai.
Jai.
Jai Shri Rupanuga Guru Varga Ki Jai.
Jai.
Jai Nittai Gaur Premanande Haribol.
Haribol.
Gaur Haribol.